everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by My Song of the Day, Rock 2000 to today. Happy Thursday, everybody. It is May 7th. We got a very special episode on for you because I had to flip these episodes around due to scheduling conflicts, but we got this one in, and you guys are going to want to listen to this one because this is the super smoothest conversation I have ever had with a band up to this point, and it is absolutely fantastic. But before we get into it, let me go through my shameless plugs. If I had any advertising, this is where it would be, but right now I do not, so let me plug all the My Song of the Day stuff. So follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram because that's all our social media pages. You're going to find out anytime anything gets released, whether it's the 30-second Song of the Day preview, whether it's the YouTube videos, whether it's the podcast episodes, whatever it might be, you're going to find out at that point. Twitter, it's really easy to talk to us. Instagram, it's really easy to talk to us because that is our most important platform right now. It's our biggest platform, and we do much more stuff on Instagram. We post a lot more questions on Instagram. We have our IGTV videos, which come out every single Tuesday night. It's a little behind the scenes look at what we're doing here at My Song of the Day Rock 2000 today. And also our Instagram live streams every single Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central. It's an hour you come talk to us and have a good old time with us and ask us the most random questions you can think of about music, and we just get into great conversations. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because on our YouTube channel, man, we got a lot of good stuff there when it comes to the album reviews, the band reviews. The podcast episodes are on our YouTube channel as well. And also, please follow the Chord Progression Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play if you don't want to watch the YouTube video, but the YouTube video is always the funnest to watch, so go watch it there. And please enable our Amazon Alexa skill because that contains the whole song for our Song of the Day feature. Song of the Day feature is probably our most important feature because it is what drives the community here at My Song of the Day Rock 2008 because it helps you fall in love with bands you're gonna love, helps you fall in love with bands you used to love, and get to know the emerging bands in the scene, especially with our Small Band Saturday feature. And I am rambling on and on and on, so please follow all that stuff. Links in the description below of the video and in the podcast notes. But now, let's go to our feature presentation. So one thing you guys know that I've talked about recently has been about how I've been trying to get more podcast guests on there. And one thing I've been doing has been going into the bands that are following the My Song of the Day project on Instagram and listening to their music. And this one is one of the best ones. So I was going through and I found this band called Nowhere to Be Found. They're out of Portugal, and that does not stop them in any sort of the way, even though Portugal is not really known for hard rock metal, alternative metal. No, these guys are freaking great. So I listened to their lead single, Traverse, featuring Matty Mullins of Memphis May Fire, and listened to it once, listened to it twice, messaged the band on Instagram saying, hey, I'd love to have you guys in the podcast. And during the Instagram live stream right at the end, they sent me a message. I was like, yeah, I want to do this. And I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, they're going to do this. Yes. And I told one of the people on our Instagram live streams, he will be on a podcast somewhere soon. His name's Julian. He's like, oh my God, you got them? Like, yeah, I did. A little bit of a scheduling conflict, but we finally got them. And this is an interview for the ages as it just flows so naturally. So please give a warm welcome to Tiago, the lead singer for the band Nowhere to Be Found. Get ready for a good one. Are you guys ready? Let's go. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast, you guys know I always deliver with a special guest, and today is no different as we're delivering big. Today, my guest is Tiago. He is the lead singer from the band Nowhere to Be Found. Tiago, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having me. Super cool of you.
Thanks for being on, and well, thank you for accepting my invitation, mostly.
No, how could I resist your charm?
I mean, not a lot of people can, I guess. I mean, I'm just got that little bit of a goofball personality, and especially during this whole entire conversation, you'll just see that come out, just me just kind of going off on a couple of tangents here and there, just having some fun. Big old goofy smile, just like, yeah. That kind of stuff.
But your message, your first message is so like honest. Well, no one can resist. It's like, this is who I am, what I do. I want to have an interview with you because I really love this song or that thing about your band. So I really just would like to talk to you, and we feel the love.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, because what I ended up doing when I was looking, because I want to always interview as many bands as possible, and especially interview the bands that are emerging in the music scene. So, coming out with their first album, coming out with their second album, and really starting to make waves, but just haven't really, maybe cracked the US market yet, or have been on those major tours opening for major bands. And one thing I did was I was scrolling through the people that were, or the groups that were following my page specifically, and I ended up stumbling upon Nowhere to Be Found. And a couple of our followers that end up always talking to me, especially on our Instagram live streams, have mentioned you beforehand. So I decided, you know what, let's open up Spotify. Let's see what you got. Listen to your major song on there, Traverse, featuring Matty Mullins. And it took one listen to that song, and I pretty much opened up Instagram, opened up the DMs. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to just DM them right away and hope for the best. But I'm going to be completely honest with it, because I'm going to tell them what I'm about, tell them what I like to do, tell them what I am going to do. But then also, I'm not just asking you out of nowhere. Like, I've listened to your music. I really do like it. And I want to be able to talk to you about your music and about your musical journey as well. So when it comes to when it comes to what I wrote in that message, I was being completely 100% honest.
Yeah. It's what we're just talking before the interview, and I was telling you what you do is so important to like the upcoming bands. We don't have the time in the big media and all that stuff, so it's super cool of you. Yeah.
So I'm gonna end up becoming like the alt press or the Loudwire of the bands that don't have the media that alt press and Loudwire have right now.
Yeah, like I understand the big media point of view. It's like it's a business; they have to sell, they have to make money and pay a lot of people. But there's just no. There's sometimes we feel like smaller bands growing up. There's two kinds of PR: whether you pay these people a lot of money so they get in touch with all the media to get you out there, or there's just no other way to get your music out there, because they're even like medium radios, they don't have a lot of shows for upcoming music. Like you have the small radios, maybe like the author shows, they put your music in there, but the big radios, they just don't have the airtime to do it.
Yeah, and bands like Nowhere to Be Found, just where you guys are at in your careers right now, where you don't necessarily have, let's say, the media notoriety that a band like I'm just gonna use Breaking Benjamin as an example, like the media notoriety that they would have. Got to find some way to get your music out there, and one way to easily do that, especially in today's day and age, is on the internet, just on social media, anywhere you can possibly put it, because you don't have to go through those what they say, quote unquote, gatekeepers, and just people that only allow a certain amount of things to pass. Where the internet, there is none of those, and it's just basically you're putting your stuff out there to everybody to listen to, and you don't have to go through that. But it is a lot harder to get noticed because of how many people are going out there and doing something like that.
Exactly. First you had the gatekeepers. You only can produce music if you go through these guys. Now it's easier to make music, to record it, and to get it out there. But there's so much offer that to get noticed in this ocean is so difficult. You can have really good music. I'm discovering like new bands that I really like on a daily basis. It's like, how did I never heard of this band before? Maybe you feel the same, but it's like there's so much offer in there that I don't know if you. They're still the gatekeepers. They have a different role, but I feel like they're there. They have a lot of power in saying these guys are going to be the next whatever, and these guys are going to grow. These guys are going to open for that band, and these guys, especially for us, well, because we're an independent band. We own everything we record. We make our songs, we record them, we own them. So we don't have a label. So that's a problem right there for getting more of us to the media, you know, because even when you're speaking of even when you're speaking of festivals and whatnot, the agencies and the labels and whatever, well, they know the guys who make the roster at the festival a lot better than us. We're knocking at the door, like, please give us some, let us play in the small stage at 5 p.m. And even that, it's hard for us.
Yeah, and that's understandable as well, just because when it comes down to the music industry itself, it's been that way for so long, where it's just bands are trying to be signed by record companies or record labels. And then those labels are the ones taking care of trying to help them book shows or be on tours, be on festivals. And now with the internet, it is a lot different, but everyone's still trying to hang on to that old way of thinking, because that's just what they know best. And as humans, we're very, we're very prone to just being in the same routine over and over again. We're very resistant to change in that aspect. So when it comes to being an independent band, it is a lot tougher, because you don't have those relationships with the people that are putting together the schedule, putting together the lineup for those major festivals, even if you're just trying to play on a smaller stage, maybe earlier in the day, because you're not trying to, be the headliner for some of these festivals, but you're trying to maybe play before a band a band like Memphis May Fire, if they're at a festival, maybe before a band like Skillet. You're just trying to get on before them, but it is tough because they're signed by major labels, so the labels and their representatives are going to be able to do a lot more than you are. However, where the difference can come in is, you guys own all the rights to your music. You guys own everything you record, so you can play around with it and do anything you want with it. So when it comes to making a change, when it comes to making some sort of when it comes to making some sort of promotional tool, or if you find something interesting you might want to try out that's becoming very popular online that could really get you some exposure and make one of your songs or something, a video that you guys are making, go viral, you easily have the ability to pull that off, just because you own the rights to that. Your movement on that can be a lot quicker.
Yeah. As a band, you talk about all that stuff. Are we going to sign to a label? Are we going to try like a big one? And you'll be right at the bottom of the priority list. Are you going to try and sign with a medium label and have some more attention of them? Are you going to do it by yourself? Are you going to what? You have to talk about these things because it's your music at the end of the day. And I'm not gonna lie, we tried a lot of labels that we respect and we feel like they would give our music the value it deserves, but at the end of the day, even those labels are like, I have a million bands around the corner. Why should I go to Europe, to a country with no history in this kind of music, and get a band that I just won't know if it's gonna stick? Because I can control better the bands that I have right here, right around the corner, or in the US. And so we've just decided, well, we're not gonna give up. Are you with me, Kev?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. We're gonna do it by ourselves, and we ended up like recording with Henry Cood. I don't know if you heard about Henry. He recorded Architects and Bring Me the Horizon. He's a Swedish producer. And we work with Ted Jensen, who has a Grammy, and he works with everyone there in the US. And we work with Maddie just because we opted for a different route. We said we're going to make it ourselves, but we're going to make it as good as the big ones.
That's understandable. And we're
gonna try.
Yeah, and one thing when it comes to trying to make it as good as the big ones are, when it comes to owning all the rights to your music and not having some record label own those rights to those, is you don't have the potential for someone else to have an outside influence on your music that just what their sole purpose is just to grow the audience and make money. And it might be something where they want to say, hey, let's put this in your music, or put this certain aspect, put this certain influence in there that you might not be feeling at all or really have any sort of connection with. But, oh, this is probably going to help you sell records. And then all of a sudden, then you're really making something that's not fully yours. So it does get rough. And I've heard plenty stories about different artists that have gone through that, where different producers and different executives had had hands on their music and ended up creating something that they didn't really like. And I think the prime example of that I can think of at the moment is Sleeping with Sirens on their fifth album, Gossip, because not many people liked it, nor did the band. And then their most recent one, they went back to what they used to do, and it turned out so much better.
It's so good. It's so good. I really like the last album. I listened to Gossip like twice. It's like, what's this?
Yeah, there were way too many pop influences in that one.
Yeah, I mean, I like pop. I like a lot of genres of music. I just think it wasn't good enough, and it wasn't Sleeping with Sirens. It didn't felt like Sleeping with Sirens, and we never felt any pressure to add this kind of song or to mold our songs into anything, because we've never been in that position. We heard stories, of course, and we didn't want to compromise. So it's like we know we've taken the rough path. We know we're gonna take longer. We know we have to work harder. We do all our videos. We do everything. So, but we're doing it the way we feel it's gonna get in touch with people, the way we feel right. So even in a recent interview, I said this. Even if in the end it's not going to be the way we wanted it to be in the beginning, the growth and the path itself, it's going to be it's fun. We're growing together, So it's awesome anyway.
Yeah, and that really speaks to the certain mantra that I always kind of follow. It's macro patience, micro speed. And what that means is, in the long run, you have to be patient with what you're doing. And with the music that you have, especially with a song like Traverse, because that is a killer song that you guys have. And the way it turned out was fantastic. So just the quality that's behind that song. I mean, looking on Spotify right now, you've got over 100,000 streams on that song alone. You've got over 7,000 monthly listeners on Spotify alone. So you can tell that, you guys have the sound to work with it, but you just have to have that patience in the long run, because it's not going to hit, especially when you're, you're doing everything independently. You're making all your own music videos. You're controlling all your own music, and you don't have any label to try and help promote it. Yeah, it's going to take longer to try and get to that point. However, but in the short term, you have to be as quick and just basically as deadly as possible when it comes to putting out good music, putting out great music videos for it. And when it comes to social media as well, being as quick on that when it comes to people commenting on your stuff, responding to them, just making those followers that you have. Because I know you guys got over around 29,000 followers on Instagram. Those followers, when they see a comment, when they comment on your stuff, and all of a sudden you comment right back to them, there is just an added value between the band and that fan as well. And it just keeps going back and forth. That's just going to grow that relationship as well, because when I messaged you right away on Instagram, I don't remember how quick it was for you guys to get back to me, but I mean, you got back to me really quickly.
We have this thing among the four of us. We answer to 100% of messages and 100% of comments and whatever anyone texts us. We are so grateful that anyone from we get messages from Indonesia on a daily basis. It's like these guys took the time to listen to our music and to grab their phones and to write a message saying, I really like your music. Like, where are you from, or what are your influences, and whatever. And we have to take the time to answer to these guys, because in the end, these are the people that value what we are making. So it's just I guess, not being rude.
Yeah, no, it's not necessarily. It's not even not be rude as well. And apparently, the last time I looked at your monthly listeners on Spotify, I definitely lowballed it because I'm looking at it right now when it's over 10,000 for the past month. So definitely a huge increase on that one. But you're talking about getting messages from people in Indonesia. The first thing I wanted to do was take a look at on Spotify, because it always shows, just if you're just looking at it as a regular listener, it says where people are listening to your music the most, and it's 5 cities in the U.S. here as your top 5 was Chicago, Dallas, New York City, Seattle, and Atlanta, which is, those are big metropolitan areas that people are listening to your music on. So that is something that really hits on that. But where I also want to go with that was with you and your band having this, the mantra of, every time we get a message, every time we get a comment, every time we get a text, to answer it. You don't know how much return on that you're going to end up seeing, like in an economic term, like return on investment. It's going to be a long-term investment, but so many people are going to feel valued as fans because you're responding to them. You're giving them more value than you're actually asking for. And I'm just kind of going off on econ right there. But if you're giving more than you're taking, those fans are going to just give it back to you even more than you can imagine.
It's I don't know if we're giving more than we're taking, because I feel that these guys, they're so cool to come in and talk to us. Just like, and most of them are like, I really like your band and whatever. And they're, you can see they're not hoping for an answer. It's just like, I really like what you're doing. Keep going, whatever. We're like, thanks. Really means a lot. Where are you from? When you start to like the dialogue, they're so like, oh, I was expecting that. And we have fans from. You said we have a lot of listeners from top cities in the U.S. Most of those people don't know that we're not from the U.S. I can honestly say that like only a 5th or a 6th of our followers are from our country. The other countries don't know we're not. Most people think we're Americans, and that's cool. We don't have anything against it, because it really works the other way around. The first thing we felt when we introduced ourselves as being in a small European country, to be honest, we felt prejudice. That was the first barrier, because it's like, there's metal or metalcore or post-punk or whatever you want to label it. And that's from either the US or the UK or maybe Germany, in people's minds. So
yeah,
if I told you there's this really great band from Nicaragua you have to listen to, the first thing on your mind is, really? Is there metal music there? Is it going to be any good? So most people think we're from the US. That's okay. That's nothing against it. But people really get excited when we take interest in what they have to say. By now we know a lot of people from messages on Instagram. We ask about their families. We ask if they're okay with this coronavirus thing, and it's so cool to meet people from around the world. That's the point, is they took the time to listen to your music, and that's really important for us.
Yeah, and then you're returning it back to them by talking with them, and not just saying, just every time you see a message, just not by copying and pasting, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're actually taking the time to ask them a question. You're actually taking time to write something more personal to give them more value. And when it comes to my personal experience on that, one that I have was, I interviewed a band called E-Line. They're an alternative metal band out of Italy, and their biggest song, I forgot what the name of it is off the top of my head, but it features Aaron Pauley of Mice and Men. And I ended up having a conversation with their guitarist, and we were going back and forth about, I wanted to hear the story and how they got him on that song. And then during my promotion for that podcast, I had the beginning parts of that story as the main promotion parts for the podcast. Because, okay, if you hear that a crazy story about how they got Aaron Pauli of Mice and Men to be on the song, if you're a metalcore fan or a metal fan or a hard rock fan, you're going to want to listen to it. And after I put it out there, all of a sudden I see this huge comment on my post from Aaron Pauli saying, like, I had no idea that was the actual story because it was something where they asked him for like a year straight and he never got back to him. Then they kind of gave up on it, and all of a sudden his one of their managers was like, hey, you should actually go and do this, and he was into it because they played with the band before. And Aaron Pauli and I got in a conversation about what I was doing just because he commented on my post about this one band this band Eline that I got to interview, and I asked about a story about how the heck they got him to be featured on one of their songs. So It was just seeing that from someone like that. But it doesn't matter if it's, someone as big as Aaron Pauli or just any musician for that matter, just giving the fans some sort of recognition or saying thanks and just having a good time with them. It really does do a lot for someone's mental state, because not going to lie, I was super energetic, pumped up right when I saw that first comment, and then him and I messaging back and forth a little bit. I'm just like, this is awesome! Oh my
god! I'm actually wearing of Mice and Men tee. I was showing you.
Oh no way! Oh my god! No, I'm so glad I brought up that story.
I love those guys. I really love those guys, and actually, our bassist has been talking a lot to their bassist, because the guys in Of Mice and Men, they are so cool. They reply and they get in touch. They are really cool. And our story with Maddie, I don't know if you want to get into that.
Yeah, no? I'll put it this way. I had a story about Aaron Pauli of Mice and Men, and for everyone that is unaware of this, the song Traverse by Nowhere to Be Found is their biggest song on Spotify right now with 135,920 streams as I am looking at it at this moment. And it features Matty Mullins of Memphis May Fire. So Tiago, you got to tell me the story. How did you guys get connected with Matty Mullins? How did you get him on this song, and what was the experience like?
It's surreal, but it's so simple. It took one email.
Only one email?
It. Yeah.
All right, keep going, man. I gotta. What was this? What was in this email? What did you do?
The thing was we were. That song was recorded maybe a year and a half ago. I don't know. We released it a year ago. Yeah, we when we did that song, we were like, this sounds really good. This sounds big. This is one we're gonna be proud of, and we wanted to work with someone who would. I'm talking about Henry Could now, the producer.
Okay.
We'll get to Maddie, because it was as I was telling you, as an independent band, we know we don't know everything, so we thought, let's get in touch with a guy who knows more than we do, and maybe he will influence us to get to a point where we want to be without compromising. So it's not the guys from the label. So we looked for a producer, like a producer who we would feel comfortable working with. And a friend of ours from another Portuguese band who had toured along Europe said, I know this Swedish guy who maybe will work with you. Let's just send him the songs. It was like he had made 2 albums with Architects and 2 albums with Bring Me the Horizon, who are big bands. And we recorded this song in a shitty iPhone, like the iPhone recorded it. We didn't even use a proper microphone. We were so young and dumb. It's like you can only listen to cymbals on the demo, because the drums playing on the rehearsal studio, you can only listen to that big cymbals our drummer has, and but we sent it to him, and we was like, we love your work, we would like to work with you, would you consider coming to Portugal for a week? And in a couple of days he was yeah, sounds good. You gonna get me some sun? We were like, how is this possible? And the guy flew over here, and we spent a week like recording. We recorded three songs. The three songs that are actually on Spotify right now.
Okay.
It's Traverse. The first one was Closer, and now we have a new single called The Way. And during the process with him, the song grew so bigger. The song got bigger because he knows what he's doing. He's like, I think there's some like 3 notes missing there, and I would like to put the little thingy there and do some more like vocal harmonies there. And the song grew bigger. And by the end of the 5th day, we're listening to the song, and we were like, well, this really needs a voice to get it to another voice to get it to where we want to be. So I'm not gonna lie, we made like a short list of names. Who do we think would get this song to that level? We went obviously to our references. We made a short list, and I'm saying we don't have a label, we don't have an agency, we don't have like, no one knows us. We're a small band from a small country with a small like growing fan base. So no one put the word for us, you know. And we wrote an honest email, like, we are small, no one knows us, but we love your work. So we would love if you'd consider entering this song, because we love your work and whatever, because we are Memphis Mayfire's fans in the flesh. Like 2 days later, we got an answer from Maddie saying, yeah, I would love to be in that song.
Okay, before we continue on, because you said you made a short list of names that you wanted to have featured on this song. What other names besides Matty Mullins did you guys have on the short list?
Oh God. You have to understand here, we were like shooting for the stars. It's like, what's the honest short list we would like to have in this song? No, not thinking of of probabilities of them accepting or not or whatever. I remember we got like Chino from Deftones in there, because he's obviously like a big hero for us. Mm-hmm. I know we got Kellen from Sleeping in Sirens. I know we got who do we put in there? I don't think we put Aaron, because at the moment the singer was still the.
Oh yeah, I can't remember his name, but isn't it Austin? I think.
Yeah, Austin, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think we had like a 6-name or 8-name short list.
I like the fact that you shot for the stars on that one as well, because it adds so much more to the song. And I just want to get into what it was like to work with Matty Mullins, but just to give you a little bit of an idea of like, after I listened to Traverse a couple of times over and over and over again, because I liked it a lot, and I wanted to, really fully understand what I liked about the song, what I was thinking about it. And getting Matty Mullins on it was, I think, out of everyone on that short list, was probably actually your best bet, due to the fact that when listening to your vocals on that track and listening to Maddie's vocals on that track, just from what I've heard from Memphis May Fire with Maddie's vocals, they have this certain flow to them. And the way that your vocals flowed matched up almost perfectly, so that the way the instrumentation was written on that song, your vocals, both of them, just really went very well throughout the song, whether it was something where, you were on the first verse exclusively, then Maddie was on the second verse exclusively. And you didn't really feel like there was any kind of there was no choppiness in the song to really mess around with it. And then there were parts of the song when all of a sudden you guys weren't isolated. You guys were like, okay, you were doing a line, and all of a sudden here's Maddie doing a line. So it was a quick transition within maybe the bridge. All of a sudden you didn't really feel any kind of difference in there in terms of flow, because the flow from both of you guys was basically identical. So there was no, messing any of that up.
First of all, I love you, Kev.
Yeah.
That had to be said. And the thing is, when we got the recording from Maddie, we understood that he was so much more perfect than we thought he'd ever been, because he took the time and he sent a lot. He sent harmonies, he sent the second voice, the third voice. He really, we gave him a lot of freedom. It's like, this is how we'd imagine the song. If you have like other idea of like the melody for the vocals or whatever, well, you can obviously try and do your thing. But he kind of kept to the original tone, sort of. But he did a lot of harmonies, and he added some very high pitched notes. Like in the end, the Traverse to Me, he really got high. That was so perfect. It's like you said earlier. He gave us so much more than we asked of him, and he really didn't have to do it, because he gained. No one knows Maddie because of us, So he did it because he's super cool. He's like the coolest human being ever for us.
Yeah, and then also listening to how, just hearing the comparison between both of your voices when it comes to the flow. I mean, the comparison was identical, so it works. But then there was a little bit of a contrast in there as well, where your vocals and Maddie's vocals were a little bit different in terms of pitch, because Maddie's vocals were registering a little bit of a higher pitch. Yours were a little bit deeper. So in the song, so it's like with yours, what I kind of thought of it was like, you got like the same flow that Matty Mullins had, but if it was a little bit deeper, kind of on that same like Ben Burnley, Breaking Benjamin kind of style. So when you match those two up, like a little bit of a deeper style in your vocal versus a little bit more of a higher pitch style, not much of a higher pitch, but just a little bit in Maddie's vocals, just that contrast really stands out, along with the comparison of that flow. So it really stands out as something that's a lot more powerful than a lot of other songs that I've heard from a lot of other bands recently.
Yeah, there's a curious thing in that song. There's a big scream in the song, like in the second chorus in the background, and everyone thinks it's Maddie's because he's an incredible screamer, but it's actually mine. And I'm not a screamer.
No way.
But, yeah. If you, I don't know if you noticed it, but you'll listen later. And that
definitely
scream is
that.
Actually mine. And a lot of people is like, I just love Maddie's screams. It's the song is so much better. It's like, thanks.
But that's one thing you can take going into your music going forward, as well as the fact of the matter is, even though you don't necessarily scream all that much, or maybe don't want to scream all that much, you have the ability to just maybe add it in there at bits and pieces. And it's just a part of your, well, I'll say part of your toolbox, basically, that you can pull out at any given moment. And if the song is calling for just a quick scream here, a quick scream there, you're able to provide that.
Yeah. The thing is, we, like in so many other things, we talk about it as a band. Are we gonna, because we feel we can make it. We do have the toolbox, as you said it. It's not really the like, we don't feel like we want to do the classic metalcore, like the screaming during the verse and then the super clean, super powerful choruses, But you got it just right. We like to use those like details, bits and pieces over here and over there. And the newest songs we are creating, like right now, I'll admit we are using a lot more of that, because we feel like that.
And if you feel like it, absolutely go for it, because what you have to do is if you're going with the flow of the song, just like, when you're writing your lyrics, you're figuring out what the vocal pattern is going to be. If you're going to use these unclean screams, just go with the completely clean vocals throughout. If the song is just telling you, and you're listening, it's just telling you, use a scream right here, it's going to just make this certain section just hit so much harder. And it's going to be the thing that when people listen to this song, that's what they're going to remember. If that's the way you feel about it, just put it in there, give it a shot, because in the end, it might not work and you might just try something different. But if you don't try it, you never know, because it might be the thing that makes that song, the song that's going to end up potentially, say, if you want to get signed by a record label, get you signed by a record label. Or if you want to stay independent, it might be the song that gets you known much further along. And all of a sudden, when it comes time for these festivals to start and get back up again, playing again, boom, all of a sudden, Nowhere to Be Found is playing these festivals, whether it might be an early time slot or a much later time slot in the night. You never know. But if you don't try it, you're never going to know if that's going to work out or not.
Yeah. I don't know if you make music, but you get the construction of music like pretty well.
I actually don't at all. I just absolutely love music. And then through doing this for about a little bit over 2 years at this point now, it's just doing a lot of album reviews as well and figuring out exactly what I like, what I don't like. And then always when I'm doing reviews on music, it's just, if I don't like something or if I don't like an album, I'll say I don't like an album, but I'll always try and do a thing at the end of my album reviews, like likes and dislikes. So say if I really don't care for an album, I'm going to tell you there's certain aspects I probably enjoyed about it, but overall maybe didn't. But it's going to be somewhere, it's like a lot of times I'm looking at certain constructions of things. Like I'll use the new Boston Manor album as an example, where I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but taking a look at the types of themes that they used on their whole entire album and how they tied the type of song and the construction of the song into those themes just to really get a mood about those songs, that I thought they did it absolutely fantastic. So it was just like somewhere they had a song that was more about them being in the music industry, trying to make it super duper big, and then, getting in with all these record companies, trying to figure out that, and they're making music, but then all of a sudden they, certain money that they're making has to go to these record companies, to these producers, marketing, all this other stuff. So it doesn't feel like they're making as much as they should be, and just kind of having to accept it. And the song had this whole entire kind of this quote unquote, whatever man kind of feel. So it's just kind of like, there. Or they had a song that was called On a High Ledge, where the lead singer, he was talking about a traumatic experience that he had as a child, where he saw a man commit suicide, and the song was just I didn't care for the song because it was very just blank and just didn't really have a lot of emotion. It was just kind of like, it was just kind of there. It was just kind of like walking down a straight path, seeing nothing. But when you look at that as a kid, if you saw something like that, you really don't know how to process it. So you're kind of just jaded about it. You kind of just don't know what to do. You're kind of just caught in this blank space. And the song really felt like that, where, again, not the biggest fan to listen to it, but seeing how they tied that in, it was phenomenal. So when it comes down to like me trying to look at music, I always try and look at if there's something I like about it, I'm going to say there's something I like about it. But if I don't really care for it, I'm going to say why, but I'm always going to try and look for like that silver lining in there. So when it comes to trying to figure out music construction and all that kind of stuff, that's kind of where I really picked up on it, because it's like, okay, why am I liking metalcore so much more than other aspects of metal? Because it has this hardcore punk influence in there, and I absolutely love hardcore punk. So that's how that worked. Yeah,
exactly. What's the album you listened to the most in the last couple of weeks?
Last couple of weeks, the album I listened to the most, the two that I probably listened to the most in the past couple of weeks, one has been the new Trivium album, What the Dead Men Say, because that album came out and it was pretty much everything that I wanted Trivium to do on that album, they did. And it's just, I think it's fantastic through and through. And then there's one album that I've probably been listening to for the past, I want to say 7 months straight, that I just can't get enough of. And that would be that'd be The Silver Scream by Ice Nine Kills.
Okay. I saw Trivium last year here. I'm not the biggest fan, I have to admit. They were opening for Slipknot, which I am a big fan. So I've not listened to that yet, but I'm gonna pick it up.
I would say so because
it kills.
Yeah. So what about Ice Nine Kills?
Go ahead.
On your end.
I'm not the huge fan. I like it, but I don't know, man. There's so much. I've been listening to so much of Architects since the last album got out. I've been super glued to to that album, and I Prevail. I've listened to a lot of I Prevail because it's easy. It sounds so big, and Dance Gavin Dance, the last album, just got out like a couple weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah, the new Dance Gavin Dance album came out the same day as the new Trivium one did.
Yeah.
So I had to pick, but when I reviewed them, I'm like, I got to pick between one or the other. I got to pick Dance Gavin Dance or Trivium, and I know I listen to more of Trivium, so I'm like, I'll go with Trivium. I'll go with that one. Yeah. Not gonna lie, really glad I did because that album was absolutely killer. And then you're bringing up Architect, especially getting in or listening to a lot of them after their last album, Holy Hell, which. Yeah. The name of that album lives up to the album's hype because I thought it was one of the best albums from 2018. I remember my friend told me about it and I'm like, okay, I'll have a listen to it because I really wasn't into metalcore at that point. And I listened to it and I just literally sitting there just like, I wasn't into metalcore. Why? Because I'm really liking this. And I kind of just went down the rabbit hole with that and just went even further in it with then more with like a gothic metalcore style like Motionless in White. Then got back into Kill Switch Engage a little bit more. Trivium, went down the whole gamut of it. Got to Ice Nine Kills and that was it for me. I was definitely in for the genre right then and there. And then like locked in a place. You can't get me out of it.
But I can only promise I'm going to listen to Ice Nine Kills like the moment this interview ends, because you got your story right.
Yeah, and I've got and like looking at the posters I have like hung up above my desk right now that on the other side of it, like I've got an Ice Nine Kills one, I've got one from my favorite band of all time, Rise Against, and then I've got another one from A Day to Remember. So it's like, I've got a nice little gamut right there, and then I've got a Foo Fighters poster all the way in the back over there, and then my giant 30 Seconds to Mars flag right there.
Yeah, you have a nice selection. I have Nirvana books and Pearl Jam books because I'm a grunge native. I was born into grunge, and then I feel like I made the transition to new metal. The Chord and the Linkin Park and all that stuff.
So like when you were growing up, were you just listening to solely like grunge music, like Pearl Jam, like Nirvana, maybe like Alice in Chains? I'm trying to think of some other good
Soundgarden.
Yeah, Soundgarden.
Yeah, all of those. Yeah, I was so paranoid with those bands, and those bands got me into music. And then by the end of the 90s, when new metal comes along, you're just like, whoa, this is a whole new game with like Korn, and I'm a huge fan of Incubus, of old Incubus, by the way. I hate the nowadays Incubus and like Deftones and all that stuff. And only like, it's like what you said, only like maybe 2-3 years ago, I came into this like metal family. Like I'm listening to heavier and heavier music along the way. It's not like when I was 12, I would listen to very heavy music, and now I'm listening to heavier music as I'm getting older. It's cool. But I have my Dave Grohl painting right there.
Nice.
I don't know if you see it.
I can see it a little bit. But like I kind of have the same aspect because like when I grew up as a kid, my dad was always listening to rock from like the 1970s, 1980s. So a lot of Van Halen, ZZ Top, AC/DC, Rush, Electric Light Orchestra. Yeah. So I was like, that's what I would listen to. And then as I started getting on my own, like more on my own, it was like, more pop punk, hard rock, then into punk rock. And that's pretty much where I sat for a long time, was in that hard rock, punk rock era. And then, just starting to get more into heavier stuff. Like, because I've always liked Disturbed. That was always one of my favorite bands. That still is. But then all of a sudden jumping more into like a little bit more heavy metal. And then once I really started getting into metalcore, it pretty much took off from there. But getting back to Nowhere to Be Found specifically, because of course that is the reason why we're here. So when it comes to writing the music for Nowhere to Be Found, what bands are you guys listening to when you're writing the music? What kind of sounds are you guys being influenced by? And kind of what elements are you bringing into your music that you really want to bring in?
That's $1 million question, because when we are writing a music, we don't go with like the what's big right now, what should we do kind of song, because we are very different four guys in the band, very different four guys. Like our guitarist, our lead guitar, he has this like the same exact tastes in music you have. Like he really loves like Trivium, Bullet for My Valentine. He's into that kind of metal, you know. Like he really loves Slipknot, and he's more of a like classic. I don't know if I can call it like classic heavy. But I feel there's a difference between the metalcore and the metal that Trivium and Bullet for My Valentine and whatever do. He's very much into the same things you are. I'm more of, I've told you, I'm more into like, I was a grunge native, not anymore, you know, but I really like those new metal days, and I really like the new metal core from like Architects and Dance Gavin Dance and all that stuff. Like our bassist, he's really into Bring Me the Horizon, and a lot of other like indie stuff like Nine Inch Nails and Tool, and like things that are a little like rough around the edges and different. And our drummer, he's into like pop and like punk, like ska punk, like Sublime and stuff like that. And
all right,
Dave Matthews Band and stuff like he's the guy. He's so talented because he's like into quieter things and like, and then you say, thinking of this like big metalcore song, and we need you to do like this heavy stuff. And he's like, okay, let's do it. And he always brings it. He's a cool guy, very cool guy. So when you get these very different influences into the creation, sometimes it's so difficult, because like you can get you can get a riff, or the guitarist can get a riff, but where do we go from here? Sometimes it's a big discussion, because we do it together, you know. We are friends from a lot of years from high school. We are high school friends, you know. So we have relationships outside the band, you know, the girlfriends and the wives and everything else. We know each other, and so we spent some time together, and we've honestly always tried to make music together, to be more meaningful to everyone. Because when you're playing it live, it's so much cooler for everyone to be involved in the process, because it's yours. You've created it. You feel like you're blessed to be playing that song for that many people. And so we've always created them together, but it's so difficult in the process, because because right now I'm listening to Dance Gavin Dance. I've listened to and I'm listening to a lot of Swans, like the riffs and stuff. So I'm into that. I want to bring that into new music, but my lead guitar is into the new Trivium album. He's like, I heard this kind of stuff, and I want to, because you feel influenced by what you're listening in the moment, right? So, but that brings a whole new level of difficulty into creating anything. Yeah, it's super difficult. So I can't really tell you when we try and see what the big bands are doing. It's not at all like that. I guess we try and bring what the newest references from each one of us is bringing to the game, I guess, and we tried, I don't know, to incorporate it, but it's not a Lego piece, you know. It's not like, let me put those kinds of keyboards that everyone is using and those types of beats that everyone is using, and let's see if it sounds good. It's not really like that.
All right, I gotta jump in on this just because there's a couple things I kind of want to put in and add to that. One is when you're talking about you don't want to be doing it like what the big bands are doing. That is the best way to go about it, because if you're just going to kind of follow what the big bands are doing and what their sound is going to do, it's not going to be personal enough to you for your music. And when you're saying when everyone has a hand in the creation process, you guys have so much more fun playing those songs live in front of people because all those songs have some sort of meaning, some sort of relationship with you and each member of the band. So it means so much more. But if you're just going to be doing the same stuff that all these bigger bands were doing, then you just wouldn't necessarily feel as connected to those songs. Plus, those bigger bands, they didn't become the bigger bands because they were doing what all these other bands were doing. It's because they were trying to find a way to create their very own sound. And I mean, they all listen to maybe a lot of the same stuff, maybe a lot of different stuff. Who knows? But they end up creating their own sound off of it. However, now I got to jump on the reason why I asked like what you guys are listening to, especially creating this first full album that you guys are working on. It just to see where everyone's head is at when it comes to what they're bringing to the table, because even though you guys might have more of a different taste where yours is more, kind of have that grunge and maybe more new metal style, where your guitarist is more that kind of create that more metalcore style that I'm into, then you go to your drummer and your drummer is pretty much like ska punk, Sublime with their own Dave Matthews Band, that kind of stuff. When you think about it, is it going to be tougher to maybe try and decide on some stuff? Of course it's going to be, because when you try and bring all this stuff together and people have different ideas, it's going to be hard to complete something. However, you're going to figure out what works on that specific song, what doesn't work. And maybe an influence that you're bringing might not work on this song, that an influence that your guitarist is bringing in, but you try it on a completely different song and that influence you're bringing in works. And taking a look at you listening to the new Dance Gavin Dance record, and a lot of people are absolutely over the moon with that record, thinking it's one of the best of the year so far. Consequently, you get a whole other group of people that think Trivium is doing the exact same thing where it comes to, again, different style, different songs, but their album is like already be considered one of the best of the year, along with Dance Gavin Dance. So you can tell that like these sounds that you're hearing that you guys are really liking on different aspects, like they're absolutely really doing fantastic right now. But what happens if all of a sudden, say you have this influence from Dance Gavin Dance that you're listening to, you want to put into a song, your guitarist has an influence from Trivium that he wants to put into a song, and then you create this whole entire new thing that is purely nowhere to be found, and all of a sudden it's even better than what they came up with. If it was easy, then everyone would do it. If it's not easy, not everyone's going to do it. But those who do it and those who really put in the time and effort to do it end up coming out on top and end up becoming as big of a band as like Bring Me the Horizon, like Architects. I mean, you can even go as far as saying like Metallica even.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. And what the smaller bands who make music using like mathematics, if the big bands are doing this, I'm gonna do this in a song, because by the time they're not thinking straight, because by the time they make a song, they record the song, they put the song out there, I don't know if the song or the type of songs they're based in, that was last year's type of sound, they're running after the sunsets.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
They're smaller. They don't have the same like time to market. They're trying to use the reconnaissance of the audience of that type of sound. They're always like late or a little late, or they won't get the exposure to use the brand recognition of that type of sound. So they're not thinking straight. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and there's a lot of bands that are going to do that, and they might find some success immediately just because if you're always, like you said, chasing the sunset, which gonna tell you, I'm gonna start using that phrase a lot more because I absolutely love that phrase. But if you're gonna be doing that, you're gonna end up being one step behind all the time.
Yeah.
You're gonna end up getting lost in the shuffle because it's like fashion in a way, where it's if you're trying to find if you're trying to match your sound for the sound that's popular today, by the time you put that out there, it's not gonna be the sound that's popular today. So you're always gonna be one step behind. You're gonna be playing it safe, where people are still gonna be able to recognize that song, but you're never gonna get past that certain point. Yeah. But if you end up creating this, I mean, look at the biggest bands out there. I'm using Metallica as an example. I mean, that thrash metal style between them, Slayer, Anthrax, and Megadeth. It's those big four. They pretty much started this whole entire new subgenre, basically. And then you go into new metal bands like, you put Chord in there, you put Slipknot in there, you put a band like Disturbed in there. It's just when bands start with their own sound, and all of a sudden you're able to clump like a couple bands together and they create their own new subgenre. It's always the bands that start out that new sound that really rise to the top. Even take a look at mixing more of that like hip hop in with hard rock that Linkin Park did. How many bands are doing that right now? And then you get someone like Ronnie. You get someone like Ronnie Radke of Falling in Reverse, who's just putting all this stuff in there, and he seems like he's always ahead of everybody.
Yeah, and you can use like all the references like Rage Against the Machine or Deftones. You can even tell what genre that is. It's a whole new thing. They've picked up bits and pieces of other genres they were influenced by, and it's something absolutely new. And you listen to albums from 20 years ago, and you still go, "That's so good."
Yeah, and I can throw even more examples. I'll throw two more examples in there. Take a look at a band like Trivium, just how rapid they go with all the time. It's the rapid double kicks in the drums, and it's so consistent. All these different drum fills that they do, and they hit so well. And then take a look at bands like Pierce the Veil and Sleeping with Sirens. They kind of have that pop punk post-hardcore, maybe some metalcore in their sound, but just the high-pitched vocals that both Kellen Quinn and Vic Fuentes had and still have. It's just they stuck out so much that all of a sudden it's like, it's whenever you have that kind of like pop punk hardcore sound, but the vocalist has like a higher pitch, it's like, oh, that was a Sleeping with Sirens and Pierce the Veil thing right there. And it just, it's like they kind of have of course you have your influences. Of course, you're going to be influenced by the bands you really like and the sounds you really listen to, but everyone's going to have all these different influences in that band, especially in your band with Nowhere to Be Found. And they're all going to come together. And might it be a little bit of a pain to write some of this up because everyone wants to try something different? Of course. But again, if it was easy, everyone would do it. And in the end, you're going to end up coming up with so many different influences. You're going to be able to try so many different things, and you're able to see on certain songs what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. But it does take more time, and it does, like I told you, we are like high school friends. And so we don't get like upset with each other. Sometimes we get a little frustrated, but not upset. I guess with other bands, it would be a lot harder to get like compromises, because we were talking about it earlier. If you want to go like the mile, if you want to go far, you have to be prepared to go slow. It's and one thing we've always said to each other is let's not drop a 10-track album if we only have 3 singles, because nowadays no one buys albums. So why don't we just release the 3 good singles in there? And it's gonna take a lot. We agreed we would take more time to create those like first single. But we would only release them if we thought they're really good for us. Of course, other people might not like them. It's okay. But that's the thing. We are not rushing stuff. We are taking the time to discuss where are we going in these next 10 seconds of the song.
And that's kind of a good way to think about it too. And I love the fact that you brought up the fact that it's like people aren't buying albums anymore, especially when it comes to, it's ever since that, Napster pretty much started out and with file sharing, and all of a sudden, iTunes was the big thing. Then with Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, all the streaming services,
Yeah.
that became the big thing, because then it's people are just able to select certain songs. And when you come out with a full album, don't get me wrong, for a person like me, it's like I still love when bands come out with full albums, and I still will go out and buy full albums because I get excited for them. But then all of a sudden, if a band's going to end up releasing just singles here and there, I totally understand it, because that's the best way to get your music out right now, due to the fact that, again, people aren't buying albums as much. And I'm going to jump over to Falling in Reverse again on this one, because since the release of their last album, they've released 5 songs. All of them were singles. And it was just like, they just kept getting better and better and better as they went along, all the way up to Popular Monster, which was just, in my opinion, the best song from last year. And then the last one they did was they did a whole entire reimagining of The Drug in Me Is You. And it's just, when you hit those singles, it's, you have more time to, play. I think you have more time to perfect them. You have more time to make them sound the way you want to. And if you want to add certain press to them, like if you guys want to do a music video for it, you have the time to maybe release that music video simultaneously on the same day you release that single.
Yeah, we've always done that. I'm a romantic too. I love albums. This is like my vinyl collection right there. I have 70 vinyls or whatever. I love those. The album format, because when the album tells a story, it's super cool to listen from the first to last. But for an independent small band who has to pay for studio and recording and mixing and master and promotion and the video and the promotion of the video and whatever, we just felt we wouldn't be able to make good quality videos and to invest in that if we made an entire album. So the decision was, we are gonna make singles, we are gonna make cool videos for each single, and we are gonna enjoy the road.
That's the way to go about it. I love the fact that you brought up kind of being the romantic about the listening to vinyl albums, because I kind of have the same thing too. As I'm just gonna turn this little thing right here. I mean, that's vinyl player right there. And all my vinyls are stuck down there somewhere. I don't even know how many I've got close to, probably about 40 or so. And it's all the fun stuff that I like to listen to. But at times it's nice just to, for me, it's just nice to, put it down there. It's got if it's a double vinyl, all of a sudden it's I've only got 3 songs on this one before I have to flip it. It does get kind of annoying. But then again, it's just able to kind of just it's easier just to let it spin. And it's just, you can't skip it. You can't just hit, okay, next, and just go to the next one. If I don't like it, you're kind of forced to listen to it. And especially on albums that I really do like, if there's a song that I'm not necessarily big on and I get to it, kind of being forced to listen to it. And all of a sudden it's okay, maybe understanding more of it than I was going to, because I have to listen to it, and just getting more into it instead of just, okay, there's a part of it that I'm just not necessarily the biggest on, or it just doesn't hit me right, skip it right away and just completely forget the whole thing. No, I can't do that. And it's nice. Plus, it's also kind of cool to, say, hey, I got all these vinyls. Woo!
Yeah. Yeah. Bragging rights of being a romantic.
Yeah, because even I was on a different podcast yesterday. I wasn't hosting it. I was actually the guest on it. And me and this one guy, we were basically doing show and tell with our vinyls. It was every time he pulled one out, I'm I got to see if I can match that either with something from the same band or that exact same album. And a couple of times, he pulled one time this guy pulled out the most recent 3 Days Grace album, Outsider. And I'm just wait. I pulled it up. Same thing. It was kind of funny.
What's the vinyl you're most proud of having? I have this and it's rare, or I bought this and it cost me $10 and it's worth $500, whatever you.
I would have to say it was probably be the first vinyl I ever bought. I still have yet to play it ever, because I think I scratched it a couple of times. I had bought it way before I even got my vinyl player. It was the Suffer and the Witness by Rise Against. The reason I bought that album before I even had anything when it came to any kind of way to play it or listen to it was because that is my favorite album of all time. I found it the day after Thanksgiving at a Hot Topic on sale for $10. And I was I got it. And I was slipping through. I was just trying to find any other Rise Against albums at this point. And it was the only one they had. And it was the only copy they had of it. I'm just this is a no-brainer. even though I think I had like $15 on me at that time. It's like, yep, $10, boom, done. $5 to get like a cheeseburger or something, and then go home at 4 a.m. What about you? What's like when it comes to vinyls? What is the vinyl that just stands out to you the most that you have, like your prized possession vinyl, the one that's most important to you?
I have some vinyls I have never opened, like never opened. I know this sounds kind of nerd, you know. Like I have this doll in the box, you know. No, but like the 20 year copy of the extended copy of Nevermind.
Okay.
Because I have Nevermind and I listen to it, but then the like 4 LP extended version of Whatnot, I've just bought it and it's like it's there. I don't know if I'll ever open it. It's too precious.
Understandable.
Yeah, we all have that one. But the one I was it's like I found this one in Camden Markets in London, like a couple of years ago. It's Pearl Jam's 10.
Okay.
But it's a different edition. It's like a basketball or whatever. I think I got it somewhere around. It's a different edition. I bought it like for $15 or $10 or whatever. And a couple, like last week, I went to Discogs. I don't know if you know the website, the app.
Yeah.
Discogs.
Yeah, I know what it is.
When I was like going through my collection, because I got something from Amazon, I guess Deftones one from Amazon, and I was like, let me put it in Discogs so I know that I have it. And I saw that it was worth like $400 or $300. Like it's a really rare edition of the album. Like I bought it for $10 in a flea market.
That's what I call a steal.
yeah, but it's kind of cool.
So I think I only have one album that is remotely close to that, and that was I got it right in October of last year because it was Disturbed came out with these special edition vinyls for their Believe album. It was their second album. And on the vinyl, the print of it was the basically the album cover for that album. So it had the like the all religion symbol on there. It was red, kind of, and like the background was red, kind of grainy. And they only made like they only made like 1,000 or 2,000 of them. And someone I know ended up ordering 2 of them. And she went to a meet and greet with Disturbed on their second last show of the year in 2019, which was in St. Louis, Missouri. She did the meet and greet with them, and she got a bunch of stuff signed for them. And then 2 days later, they were going to be playing their last show of the year in my hometown, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And she ended up getting a ticket, drove to Milwaukee, told me that she was there. And I was like, oh my God, I get to see another concert with this person. This is awesome. She says, I have something from you that I got signed from the band. If you want it, come and get it. I'm like, okay, I'll show up. I'll get it. And oddly enough, the hotel she was staying at, I was attending a minor league hockey game right across the street. So I'm like, oh, I have to walk across the street. This is great. And she gave me one of those vinyl albums signed by all 4 members of the band. I've got it in a frame hanging up right now. It's just like that one I will never, ever, ever play because there's no way I'm ruining that thing.
Yeah, you better not play that one. That's an awesome story.
I'll say if I do, I mean, there's so much more to that story with how I met that person because she's probably the biggest Disturbed fan I will ever meet in my entire life. And they always do this ever since they came out their last album, Evolution. They've done this thing called Fighter of the Month where because their focus is on mental health and improving mental health. And just when they do their Fighter of the Month thing, it's all about lifting up their fans and showing people that, people have gone through so much in their life that have overcome so much. And they surprised her by picking her to be the Fighter of the Month for the month that I got to see that second show with her. And I was just like, there is no way this is happening. It's like just her connection with the band was so strong. And all of a sudden it's just, I got connected with her through Instagram, just talking about the album. talking about the album before it came out, and all of a sudden her and I became real big friends, and I've seen 2 Disturbed shows with her. She got me front row for both of them, right by John Moyer, because she's good friends with John Moyer. And I'm just, at the end of like their last show, he just like threw a whole bunch of picks at us, and I'm like, I had like maybe like 30 or 40 in my hand. I'm like, this is awesome, but 30 or 40 picks, what am I going to do with 30 or 40 picks? So I took 2, put 2 in my pocket, and I just started handing them out to everybody that was around us. I'm like, it's like, spread the love around. Come on, let's go.
That's so sweet. That's really cool of you.
I mean, well, it's, if I had, as I kind of think is, what would I do with so many of these like base picks?
Like other person would have gone to eBay to sell those picks.
I've dealt with, like, especially when it comes to people and talking with everybody, talking with a bunch of people that follow my page and everything like that. Everyone has such a different connection to music, but in the end, it's always a positive connection with this band. When I was going through a certain, bad time in my life, going through certain amounts of depression, or just, I just needed someone to be there for me, I'd turn to music, and music was always there for me. And I'm one of those people too, because that happened to me. And if it wasn't for music being there for me during probably the worst part of my life, me doing this podcast, me doing this whole entire thing would have never happened. Mm-hmm. So me being, understanding that, and it's just something where it's like, if so many other people would get so much more value if they had one of these instead of me just like, oh, hey, I got a bunch of picks, let's sell them on eBay. It's just, why would I want to do that? Just, you guys attended the concert. You guys wanted to get one of these picks just as much as I did. Here you go. Have some, let's just take them, because they're going to mean so much more to them because they were at that show, instead of someone who's just like, oh, it's like they like the band, but they really don't care. They're just trying to collect stuff. And all of a sudden, oh yeah, look at that. No, this one's going to mean something to them because they were at the show. They saw it live, and then, the picks might not have been used, but they were from the show. So it's a little memento for them.
You've been a part of a lot of like barbecue stories. Like, I was at that Disturbed concert, and this guy like had a lot of picks from the guitarist, and he gave one to me. So you're a known guy.
Oh, I'd probably be a part of a lot of different kind of those stories, especially with, I've told so many of these stories in the podcast before, but almost breaking my nose at seeing Falling in Reverse when I saw Motionless in White and got this huge cut above my eye and had to tie a piece of someone's shirt around my eye, and so it would stick some paper towel to it so it would stop the bleeding. I looked like a pirate. When I got my black eye watching Rise Against, and both the Rise Against show and the Motionless in White show where I cut my eye, I was wearing the same anti-flag shirt. So I'm like, this shirt is cursed. But both those shows were awesome. So I'm like, is it really cursed? Is it something where it's like, I just have to get hurt and these shows are going to be great? I don't know.
What are you doing in these shows?
I'm always, let's see, for the one for Rise Against, when I got the black eye, I was in the pit at that point, but there were a lot of people that were crowd surfing. So I was trying to hold 2 people up at the same time, and someone was coming right into me. And I'm like, I can't hold up 3 people. I only have 2 arms. So this girl kind of slipped down, and the heel of her boot hit right under my eye. And so that's where I got the black eye for that one. The Motionless in White one, it was during their opener, which was after the Burial. Like the last song, if they play the second last song, I got knocked down the pit for the first time in months. And as I was getting picked up, someone got knocked into me. His face hit right under my eye, just started bleeding. Guy was like, I'm so sorry. And I've got my hand like, so I'm like, dude, just get me out of here. And it wasn't because I was mad at him, just because I didn't want to bleed over everybody. Yeah. And the broken nose, it was right at the beginning of for Popular Monster, when they go all metalcore in the breakdown. The first part of the breakdown, and all of a sudden I got a flying elbow right to the nose, and I heard the hit, and I thought I broke my nose, and I was mad because I was waiting for the full breakdown to happen, because I was going to lead the wall at Death Charge, and I'm like, I was so mad. I'm like, I think I broke my nose, and I was like moving around like, but it's not moving, it doesn't hurt, but it sounded like it broke, and I'm like, I'm not bleeding. All of a sudden I see, like, I'm right by the wall, and I'm like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, and they just start spreading out more and more, and I'm kind of like in the middle of it. I'm like, okay, I got to back up to one side, but someone wanted me to lead the charge. So I'm like, I'm leading the charge. Let's do this. Just someone, don't break my nose on this one.
That's a good story.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm probably part of the people's stories where it's like, yeah, I saw this one guy just start bleeding like just mercilessly at a show. All of a sudden, right before Motionless White comes on, here's the headliner. I look behind right at the edge of the pit, and there he is, but he looks like a pirate.
Cool story.
Have you ever been to any of those crazy shows like that?
Yeah, of course. I think the craziest show I've ever been was System of a Downs. Like I don't know, maybe 10 years ago.
What was that like?
Scary. That was I've been to like 6 Deftones shows. It's like my favorite band to see live. And the pits are cool, but no one gets hurt because the songs are violent, but not that like the flow, the rhythm. Sometimes Deftones songs are a little less the speed and the time of the song. Like it's violent, but it's steadier. And the System of a Down songs, they're a lot quicker, so people get around quite violently. And I was that was the first show in my life I got scared of. This is going somewhere really bad because people were like mental.
Oh wow.
I was going to see them this year, but this whole thing just fucked it up.
Yeah, this whole thing has messed up a lot of bands I'm supposed to see. One of the ones that has not been postponed or rescheduled or canceled yet, oddly enough, you keep bringing them up, is Deftones.
Yeah,
that one's I'm supposed to see him in August, so we'll see what happens. I doubt it, but I'm still holding out hope because there's a lot of bands I want to see. I'm still holding out hope that this might end, but I'm not sure because I'm like in August. I'm like Deftones is up there. Breaking Benjamin, Saint Asonia. I can see Skillet again. The one the closest one for me that hasn't been like postponed or rescheduled yet, but I know is going to, is As I Lay Dying, and I really want to see them live because especially after that last album they came out with last year. Oh man, I gotta see these guys live.
Yeah, I have tickets for Slipknot in August as well, but I don't think it's gonna happen. And I was gonna actually see Of Mice and Men like next month. Yeah, end of June, and Korn and System of a Down and Bring Me the Horizon and all that stuff, but got canceled.
Yeah, this virus is just messing us all up, man.
Yeah, our entire schedule got canceled for 2020.
The entire thing?
Yeah, it's not going to come back. Yeah.
So now that your entire schedule has been canceled for 2020, for the next, from today when we're doing this interview till the end of 2020, what are the plans for Nowhere to Be Found to, basically stay connected with the fans, grow the band, and just keep creating more music? What's the plan for that?
Yeah, the thing is, we are I guess, as well as the other bands, we are focused on creating new music. I believe next year is going to be an incredible year for albums because everyone's at home creating new stuff. Try and go to an online store and buy a recording gear. You're not going to get. There's no chance. It's sold out in every store you try. So like home gear to record stuff. Everyone's like recording demos and stuff, and we're doing that too. We were actually in that process, like creating the demos. Like we have like 7 songs written. We are just like ending the demos so we can then choose what we want to record first or later or send to this producer or that producer. So we have the songs, we are just getting them better. We're going to focus on that and try and work on 2021. But my guess is not being like not feeling defeated, but like looking at what this thing presents to us. I guess 2021 is going to be really hard for smaller bands because like this year will be close for. I'm guessing it's going to be close for the rest of the year. You know, so everyone who had their tours canceled this year are going to try and make it up next year. So I believe next year you will have a lot of offer from every band who needs to make money, you know, to live and to do all their stuff. So I think 2021 will have great albums, and you have incredible rosters on festivals, because everyone's going to try and make up for this year. So I believe that bands are going to ask for lower paychecks. And there's going to be, I believe there's going to be less chances for smaller bands because of that. Because everyone's going to go, I want to play, get me out of here, get me to Europe, get me to whatever.
But one thing you kind of have to take a look at as well when you think about it is just given the fact of the situation that we're in, this isn't something that single-handedly, like just singly, you couldn't have prevented. Singly, I couldn't have prevented it. So it's something where we're right now. It's like every single musician is a victim of circumstance. Where it comes to the circumstances not allowing any musician to really, you know, go out, play live shows, or do anything outside of maybe do it, you know, recording, maybe trying to record some new things if they have home recording studios, trying to create some new things, right? Or if you have. Or do a couple of other things that, you know, some other bands are doing. Like, I think From Ashes to New is one of the bands that's absolutely killing it right now during this, because they're doing a lot of different covers of different songs. Like they've done a cover of Gravity by Papa Roach. And then for Maria Brink's parts, they brought in Jen Ledger from Skillet, and they actually had her, like they did the live stream style. But it was something that's cool because you get to see everyone there, but they're doing things that are just a little bit different than instead of just, you know, the standard, we're just going to go live and just play our own songs. They even released a new song called Panic, which literally sounds like Linkin Park 2.0, but it's definitely From Ashes to New, and I think it's great. Ska band like Goldfinger, they're just performing all their songs, but they're just doing it in their own homes. But it's just everyone has so much high energy in those. It's so much fun to watch. So they're just taking advantage of the time that they have. But I do understand what you're saying when it comes to smaller bands, how they might have a tougher time in 2021 due to the fact that all these bigger bands are definitely going to be the ones that are going to want to take the time to play these shows, come out with new music, because that's probably what they've been working on, and get on those festival bills where it might be harder for a smaller band like Nowhere to Be Found at this moment. However, you can't be defeated by that, because there's always going to be opportunities somewhere. You just got to find it. And one thing I've been thinking about too is say there's a band like when they're doing like these European tours, like all of a sudden, you know, they come back to Europe and they're trying to reschedule some of the tours. They're not going to be with their full lineup that they were with when they had to postpone or cancel them. Like one of the tours that they had like 3 or 4 shows left was Hollywood Undead, Papa Roach, and Ice Nine Kills. They're not going to be able to play all those 4 shows together again. It's just not going to happen. However, they might be looking for a couple of openers here and there, just because all of a sudden, like, oh, they need to find someone. And maybe if they had an opener, they're not able to maybe make that happen. All of a sudden, there's this band called Nowhere to Be Found that might be able to, you know, play a couple of shows with you.
Don't get me wrong. We're not quitters. If there's one thing we're not, it's quitters, because we're used to making things happen. If you know what I mean, because and we'll do our best to be in every bill, of course.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm not calling you guys quitters. What I'm doing is I'm just kind of trying to throw more ideas on top of there.
Yeah. It's good ideas.
And that's pretty much like any other band that I talk to. I've heard so many different things that other bands are doing, and seen so many different things that other bands are doing, just to kind of, you know, say you don't have to do them, but just to kind of give you guys more ideas to do something. Like one band that's a very, very small, much smaller band than you guys are, or some of the other bands I've talked to out of Houston, Texas. I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. One thing that they're doing is because they're more local to their area. What they're doing is they're trying to stay in contact with the venues and build the relationships that they have with the venues that they'd be playing in. Because all of a sudden, once this whole entire thing ends and all of a sudden, oh, these venues are trying to, fill time slots. They have they just have the relationship with these venues. So all of a sudden, oh, they've been staying in touch with us throughout the whole entire time that we were closed. They're trying to figure out how they could help us out and everything. They're going to be the ones that they're going to get, top billing, top choice on some of these dates. So it's one thing that's a little bit more of on a much smaller scale versus what the kind of audience that you guys have. You guys have a much larger audience than they have, because I think they have, when I looked at them, there was a band called Gray Falls. They had about 2,000 followers on Instagram versus you guys with, around 29,000. It's something where it's an idea where it's keeping in contact with certain people and building certain relationships during this time. Like you guys are doing with your fans, checking in on them, saying, how are you guys doing during this pandemic? Are you doing okay? Just doing something like that. It's just building those relationships to all of a sudden, when this comes back, you're in their minds. It's all about, it's about creating like that positive emotional response from them during this time, so that when it is time for that, you're in their minds and you're the band that they're thinking about when they're trying to find someone maybe open for a band. Like if Memphis May Fire goes over to Europe for something and plays a couple of shows, or bands like Bring Me the Horizon or Architects or something like that, or if Polaris ends up coming up from Australia, coming to play a couple of shows in Europe, like Amity Affliction, Beartooth, Sleeping with Sirens. I mean, you name it, they might be looking for bands, and all of a sudden, if you keep in contact, keep relationships up with these people, keep checking in on them, not being like pestering them or being going crazy, just like, constantly checking in every single day, but, checking in here and there, just constantly building that relationship up. That's going to go so much further than you could even imagine, especially when this time ends, because you could be an opening act on one of these major tours. And instead of just staying, maybe within your, around Portugal, or staying within Spain, all of a sudden now you're going over to places like Austria, you're going to Germany, you're going to Slovakia, you're going to, you're going to the Scandinavian countries of Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark. You could going to the UK, going to England. It could very well happen.
Yeah. I hope this. We're working on it. That's really our goal, is to first tour around Europe properly, which we haven't to this point. Like I said, most of our audience is from the US, so they've never seen us live. That's the funniest thing to me. Like everyone says that you build audiences by playing live, and you do, but most of our audience, most of our fan base has never seen us live. So I guess the YouTube videos are making up for it.
Well, it is true that you do build a large amount of audiences by playing live, because I'll even use Ice Nine Kills as the example. I wouldn't be as big of an Ice Nine Kills fan as I am right now had I not seen them play live, because it was just something that was completely unreal and out of this world. It was one of the most amazing live shows I've ever seen. However, when it comes down to it, again, we're living in a much different era right now, where music is so, like we mentioned earlier, music is so much more readily accessible on these streaming platforms online, due to the fact that those gatekeepers aren't there. So it's much easier to get your music out there and have the ability to be heard. But then it's about how it's going to be heard. And the fact that you guys are having your most amount of success here in the United States, even, and being a band from Portugal, it says a lot about how your music is traveling and transcending and building relationships within the people here in the United States.
It's amazing. It's just amazing. The sheer amount of messages on Instagram we get. I am from North Dakota and I really love your sound. Are you gonna play a show? Are you gonna go through here? And I bet we've had messages from each and every state. Are you gonna go through Tampa this next few months? Or it's I want to, I really want to, but there's an ocean away, and we have to we have to cross it. Yeah, and it's really not easy for European bands to make that cross.
No, that's entirely understandable. But then again, when you're seeing the demand that's going to be there, when you're seeing people coming and message you from all different states here in the United States, asking you to come by. And if you haven't heard one from Wisconsin, I mean, we'll put it on the record right now. If you guys get a chance to come over from Europe over the US, please come to Wisconsin, specifically Milwaukee. But if you can't and you're just going to hit and you go into Chicago, I'll still show up. Don't worry, because it's only an hour and a half drive for me. So that's not too bad.
I'll have 40 picks for you. Okay.
And I'll start handing them out. But then it's, when it comes down to it, you're seeing that there's again, I'm going to go economics on you. You're seeing that there's a demand for your band to be over here in the US. It might not be as much of a demand that, a band like Bring Me the Horizon's pulling in, but there is demand there. And the fact that there's something there, it's something that you can work with, something you can grow with, especially if you're going to end up releasing another single with another music video. There's going to be people that are going to end up seeing that, and people that are, especially following you on Instagram, all of a sudden they're going to end up seeing it no matter what, because they're following you on Instagram. You're also going to get their friends to potentially see it because they're following them. You put out an ad on Instagram, you put an ad on YouTube, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, they're seeing your ad, you're listening to their music, or maybe just a bit or piece of it in a little promo, but that's because they're following their friends who are listening to your music.
Yeah, that's the thing. To tie what you said earlier, like the growing a fan base, it's such a slow process when you try and do it right. Like, it's such a slow burner. Like a lot of bands who have smaller crowds, now there can be a lot bigger, come and ask like, oh, how do you get that big on Instagram? And 30K, it's not huge, but it's really cool to have that many followers. Or do you buy followers? Or no, it just took us 2 years, daily posts, and and reply to everyone, and try and make like giveaways, and try and make it cool and personal. It's not just posting, here's me playing live, here's me playing live, here's me playing live, look at my gear. It's like trying to show a bit of yourself to your followers, and it takes time, but but you'll see results in the larger scope,
Yeah, you're going to end up seeing results in the long term, and what you're doing on that aspect is, instead of just saying, oh, look at me play live, look at me play live, look at my cool stuff, that kind of stuff, you're pretty much creating an experience for the fans when they come and visit your Instagram page and interact with you guys on social media, because you're going to respond to them. You're creating a positive experience that they're going to want to come back to more and more. And then when you release new music, they're going to want to listen to it because they liked your music beforehand and they've had more positive experiences with you and with the rest of the members of the band. So it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And, again, it might not grow as much as it has right away, but, starting off 2 years ago, everyone starts out at zero, but in 2 years, you went from zero to almost 30,000. That is, that's fantastic. Plus you got the blue check mark there. So that that helps out as well.
We do?
Yeah. The verified check mark. And I thought you guys did at least. If not, then I'm going to look real silly because I'm going to try and pull it up right now, but I'm going to go. I can't really pull on my phone, mostly because the fact of the matter is it's almost dead.
I don't know. I don't know if we do.
I thought you guys did. It's showing. No, it's not showing. Oh, well. You guys should, though.
Mr. Instagram, if you're listening to Kev right here, give us the blue ribbon. But it's like we're not. It would be cool because it's kind of it's kind of an achievement, but it's not what we're working for,
No, and that should be just kind of like a little bit of a highlight during the course of what you're going for. It's like it's like a little milestone where it's like, okay, we are verified on Instagram. That's fantastic. But that's not what the end goal is, because the end goal is so much more. That's just a part of the cool thing that's going to happen. That's part of the cool incentives that are going to happen along the way as we try and reach that end goal.
Yeah, exactly. That's like you've been good boys.
Yeah, it's like well done. Yeah, a little pat on the back right there.
So where do you go from here?
I'll say I've got maybe one or two more questions for you, just in regards to new music specifically, just because because right now on Instagram, like not Instagram, shoot. I always mess up at some point during a podcast, and I've already messed up twice in the last like 2 minutes where it was I thought you guys had the blue check mark, but you unfortunately don't. So that's my one mess up. And I was going to say Instagram again, but I was trying to go for Spotify, because Spotify, you guys have the Prey and Traverse, your singles, and then you have your single cover of Closer by Chainsmokers. So those are the 3 songs that are on Spotify right now. So can we expect any more new music from Nowhere to Be Found coming up in 2020, especially again with everyone working on new music, everyone being at home, and when it comes to people wanting new music, everyone craving for something, because we can't go to concerts right now, so that's kind of what we have to hope for.
Yeah, you definitely can expect more music in 2020, because we were in the last months, we were in the creating process. So the only reason we don't have that music out right now, it's because we can't go to studio. We were supposed to already have been to studio and recorded, but we haven't. So the thing is, we always like to make cool videos to go along with the song, so it can take like 4 more weeks or 6 more weeks after we record the song, because we like to put the song with the video.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but we're gonna see it in 2020 for sure.
Do you guys have any set time to get into the studio and record right now? Like, do you have any time scheduled, maybe a little bit later down the line? Just because I've heard from other bands that are working on new music as well, where they had scheduled studio time that unfortunately did get canceled due to the coronavirus pandemic. They have had them rescheduled for later on in the year. Have you guys gotten that rescheduled date yet? Or is it something that's still open-ended, not entirely sure when you guys are going to be in the studio yet?
Yeah, we're not really sure. We don't know, because with this coronavirus thing, we don't know if there's going to be a second wave or a third wave or whatever. We've been talking to the studio guys, and it's like, well, let's keep in touch. Let's see whenever we have the chance. But as of right now, we don't have a specific date. I hope it. My expectation is to, like, right after the summer, maybe, like end of August, early September. But yeah, who knows?
But yeah, then again, who knows at this point, because everything is pretty much up in the air right now when it comes to this virus, because who knows, all of a sudden, you never know. There might be a company that all of a sudden somehow magically comes up with a vaccine for the virus that is effective, and all of a sudden it's rolled out by August, and it's easily accessible for people to get, and all of a sudden, boom, we're back to normal in October. You never know what might happen. Yeah, it could be later than that, but for me, I'm just saying cautious. I'm saying optimistic on this, mostly because I just want to get back to, like, for me as a fan, I just want to get back to live shows. I just want to get back to being in the crowd, because that's always one of my favorite places to be.
Yeah. Well, the stage is our favorite. We're like a live band, We go to studio so we can go and play live.
Yeah, so it's when you play live, it's like you have to have like that just like sheer adrenaline rush where it's just like, this is what we want to do. It's just gotta be that place where nothing else matters.
Yeah.
When you're up on stage, you're just happy, loving every second of it, and just enjoying it as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly. That's couldn't have put it better.
Well, now I feel all giddy inside because I got that one perfectly explained. So, woohoo! Well, Tiago, I mean, we pretty much went through a lot. We've pretty much done about I'd say it looks like an hour and 40 minutes already, which is, well, again, still pretty dang good for everything we talked about, because we went through a lot when it came to your song, Travers, going through talking about, how you guys got in a relationship with Matty Mullins to do a song like that.
Yeah.
What you guys are doing right now, and then just all your influences growing the band and just basically becoming the musicians you are today, and really diving deep into just kind of the whole entire mentality of being a small band, especially during this time of a pandemic, which is unprecedented. Yeah.
This interview was so cool. You're a really cool guy, Kevin.
Thank you. You guys are making my heart warm.
The thing is, you really love doing this because you make good, honest questions, and you're interested in the small things, not the. Because I've done a lot of interviews, and the thing is, where do your name come from? The North Be Found. Where does your band's name come from? And where do you are? And explain us what do you sound like? And what are your 3 favorite bands? And there's a list of 12 questions everyone does. And then what do you expect for your next year? To close the interview. It's always like that. And you come and ask for the little things, the details that no one else asks. And that's the cool stuff.
Oh, well, thank you. Cause that's, I've always want to get down to the bottom of more of the intricate stuff as well. And then I get the fact that they want to end the interview with what are your plans for next year? And especially around this time, it's I do kind of ask some of a similar question, especially right now during the time we're in, but I think it's something that's a little bit more intricate, because it's okay, what are you guys doing right now during this pandemic that you're doing to grow the band and make sure that the band is consistently staying in touch with the fans? So it's not what are your plans for this year? It's okay, we're in some kind of an interesting time right now. What are you guys doing right now that's having a positive impact on your fan base and growing your band as a whole? And then it's something where I know why people kind of come up with those questions. I'll even put Loudwire and Alt Press in there, because I've seen a lot of interviews with, it's they kind of always ask the same certain questions, especially on some videos. And it's just, one thing I always kind of wonder is I understand, they're being paid to make these videos, make these, or talk to these questions, ask these questions. And maybe they have a script they have to follow. It might work, it might not, I don't know. But again, these people that are asking these questions are gonna, probably be fans of the band. One thing that I always like to do is I like to listen to the music and really get in deep with it, because when I bring it up, the thing is you guys know what your sound is. Me, I'm the one listening to it. What I like to do is I like to talk to you guys about that sound, but I like to also bring in what I'm listening to in your sound and what I hear in it, because maybe I'm hearing something that you guys necessarily aren't, or you guys know something about that sound that I'm not picking up on. And then all of a sudden, we can see the total mind blown moment right there, where all of a sudden it's like you said, that scream in the second verse of Travers, so that was you. And I didn't, and a lot of people don't think that's you. I was I didn't think that was you. I thought that was Maddie.
It's actually me. Yeah.
Yeah, but this was a real fun one to do as well, and I'm glad even though we had initial time for this one, but unfortunately we had to reschedule. But I'm glad we did get rescheduled really quickly. And I'm flexible with this stuff, because especially when it comes down to it, I want to get as many, if I'm a big fan of a band's sound, I really want to get them on the podcast. I'll figure out a way to make it. If we have to reschedule, I'll figure out a way to make it work. Even if it's something where all of a sudden it's if I have to go and do something else, completely rework my schedule around in order to fit something like this in. And this one, it wasn't so hard to have to fit everything around, but I'm I got to make sure we do this one way or another. And we got it done really quickly. So I'm super happy about that. I'm super excited. One thing I do have for you guys coming up is sometime later in the month, because I don't want people to completely, or the people that listen to this, I don't want them to completely forget about Nowhere to Be Found. They can't completely forget about Nowhere to Be Found. So one of these days, towards the end of May, if you see a Song of the Day choice from Nowhere to Be Found appear on the My Song of the Day Rock 2000 Day page, just know that was planned by me.
Exactly.
and it will end up being Travers, because I just like that song way too much.
Yeah, it's probably our favorite too.
It was the right pick to go with. Yeah. All Alrighty, so before we sign off, Tiago, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make? Anything you want to say?
Just stay safe, stay home, look after each other, and hopefully we'll see each other in, I don't know, a few months, maybe a year.
Like the way you put that. Hopefully we see each other in a few months, but at the latest, let's hope that at the latest it's 2021, and hopefully, because it looks like this year won't work. It just, with everything that's going out, it doesn't look like I'll end up making over to Europe this year, even though that was my plan. Next year looks like it's going to be a lot more prevalent, a lot more doable. Yeah. So when I do make it over there, hopefully I get a chance to come and swing around and see you guys play live at least once.
It would be awesome. You have a backstage pass with your name on it.
Yes! Woo! I'm even more excited.
I promise.
Yes, and if you forget, I'm just gonna end up like chopping up this interview, like just for that one little piece that you just put out there. I'm just gonna send you and be like, you remember?
Yeah, and just imagine we're opening for like a big band or a band you love. And they're like, remember me? Where's my backstage pass?
And all of a sudden, I'd probably ask and be like, we got to go on in like 2 minutes. I'd just be like, okay, I'll be in the crowd going crazy with everybody else. So if you see someone, if they start bleeding, it might be me. So just remember that.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, Tiago, thank you very much for being a guest on the Chord Progression Podcast. This was another fantastic interview that I got to do, and I always say they're fantastic, but that's because I truly mean it. Like, I love doing these. This was probably one of my favorites as well, because it was a little bit different than the ones I usually do, where I was always say, like, we kind of just have a conversation. This one was just real simple and real easy to get into from the moment we started. So I'm super happy about this one. And let's get as many people listening to Nowhere to Be Found as we possibly can.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And good luck with the podcast, because you really deserve to have a lot more listeners.
Well, we're going to make that happen. So thank you, Tiago, and stay safe over there. And I hope to see you guys play live in 2021.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, take care. Well, folks, that was my interview with Tiago of Nowhere to Be Found. And when I say that was like one of the smoothest interviews I've had, I don't think I could say it any other way. This was like when I talked to my buddy Chris, it was just the most natural flowing thing I think I possibly could have ever had, because it was just so much we got to talk about. It was just very relaxed, and I'm super happy about it. I'm not going to lie. It just really was something that was awesome. And we got into so much more of the deep stuff that a lot of other interviewers really don't get into, because, I think Tiago and I kind of talked about this a little bit. They always ask the same kind of questions, like, oh, where did you come up with the band name? How'd that come up? What are your 3 favorite bands? What are your plans for 2020? No, we got into some of the meat and potato stuff that you never really get into. Plus, we had to geek out about our vinyl collections. How awesome was that? So if you guys like this one, please give Nowhere to Be Found a listen. They are on Spotify. You can find all their information in the description of the video and in the podcast notes. And I want to thank them for being on the podcast. Thank you, Tiago. We left and he said, like, you're a friend of mine. I'm like, you know what, man? You're a friend of mine too. And I meant it 100%. So next week, we've got a alternative metal band from the Netherlands, from my favorite city in Europe, Amsterdam, because, well, I had so much fun in Amsterdam. We'll see if I bring up any stories about that one. They're called Mountain Eye. Yes, Mountain Eye. I had to quickly look at my little spreadsheet for that one and be like, oh, did I get the name right? Yes, I did. They'll be on the podcast next Tuesday, so get ready for that. But until then, this is the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by My Song a Day Rock 2000 a Day. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one of these episodes, with a big, healthy, and hearty